So is CDKeys legit or what? I've used the service before, but only once or twice, and recently when I saw that you could get Hogwarts Legacy for $13.69 versus $59.99 on the actual Steam marketplace, I had to stop and wonder, how is this even possible? And more importantly, is it safe? So that's what today's video is all about, is I wanted to go over what CDKeys is and whether or not it's safe, also talk about my personal experience in using it recently just to sort of test the waters, and then finally my final takeaways in terms of hesitations, concerns, caveats, or otherwise tips that I would recommend if you decide to buy a game through here. Now, full disclosure, I did become a CDKeys affiliate about 1 or 2 years ago when I first discovered it, but I've only bought 1 or 2 games, and I haven't shared a single affiliate link anywhere on the internet for CDKeys because I'm just not really comfortable sharing anything like that until I've had a chance to thoroughly test it, put it through its paces, and ultimately decide if it's a good fit. So as an extension of that line of thinking, that's essentially what today's video is, going over the service and how it works, and what my personal experience was buying about 6 games through it the other day, where I dropped about $100 on it just to kind of see what would happen and see if everything worked the way that it should. So first up, what is CDKeys and how does it work? So CDKeys is a third-party retailer of game codes across various platforms that kind of works within a gray area. And according to their website and the FAQ, they really only say that their management team has 30 years of experience with an extensive network of suppliers and contacts from which they source their products, which is a little bit vague. But after having done a little bit of research, it looks like the main way they procure their game keys to resell to you is by taking advantage of things like regional pricing differences, procuring those keys, and then reselling them. And while gray market selling certainly sounds better than black market selling, is it actually safe to use? That is a complicated question, and in my research, the answers that I found were subjective at best or murky at worst. For starters, and to their credit, they do have a 10-year operational history, which does provide some social proof. I mean, after 10 years, they must be doing something right to still be in business, right? Also, their FAQ links to Trustpilot, where they claim to have a 4.7 out of 5 star rating, but as of this video, I actually found it's a 4.8 star out of 5 star rating and right around 200,000 user reviews. However, as is the case with pretty much every major review site that leans on user feedback, you kind of have to take these with a grain of salt because you don't know how many of those are legitimate, or it could be a situation where, a certain service got artificially pumped up or review bombed, which is something we've seen in the past. So yeah, the primary proof by which CDKeys backs up their claims of legitimacy is essentially to refer to a website that is mostly user review based, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I would still take it with a grain of salt because we all know that those platforms can be manipulated. So keeping that in mind, I figured the next best thing that I could do was to start to do more research outside of, the only source that they really cite, which would be Trustpilot. So I started looking through Reddit, Twitter, and I even put a poll here on the community tab to see what you thought about buying games from Steam versus other marketplaces, just to see if I could get a feel for what other people's experiences was actually like. And I have to say that overwhelmingly, the vast majority of feedback that I was able to find was largely positive. Most people said that they offered deep discounts, that the site was well designed and easy to use, and also that the delivery of those game codes was really, really fast, and they'd had no issues to speak of. But then I still found other users who were, again, mostly in the minority, but they did have a few points of feedback that did give me pause. The first of which is I saw users report that they would have games that were blocked because of the region that they were in. Secondarily, I also had people say they did not have a great support experience with CDKeys after they'd paid for a game and something had gone wrong. But I think the biggest and most troubling thing that I found, which I should point out was not specific to CDKeys, but it did set a precedent for this potentially being something that could happen with purchases made there, is that there was evidence for at least one instance where a publisher actively revoked keys that were sold through a site like this, leaving gamers kind of in the wind. At first I was skeptical of this claim, but I went back and actually looked at the Twitter exchange between Devolver Digital, one of my favorite publishers, and G2A, a site that does similar reselling to CDKeys, and sure enough, there was a pretty chilly exchange between the two on Twitter that talked about exactly these problems. Again, this was not a situation that was directly tied to CDKeys, but given that they operate in that sort of same space as G2A, it did seem like it set a precedent for, again, this being a potential thing to think about before you make a purchase. So as far as how safe CDKeys is, or any other third-party unauthorized reseller of Steam game codes, I guess the best way that I could describe it would be it really depends on your level of personal risk tolerance. Now, if you just kind of get a weird feeling about the idea of buying from a gray market source, then I would say don't use a service like this. Stick to the official Steam store or lean on authorized resellers like Fanatical or Humble. However, if you are in a position where you like the idea of potentially saving hundreds or even thousands of dollars each year as you buy your Steam games, it might be worth a look. And after poking around their website, even though it seems like they have a pretty good support system in place for purchases that happen within the past 7 days, all I can really say is that it looks good because I have not had a chance to interact with them in any way myself, and I can't speak to those claims at all. Which is probably a good way to segue to the next part of this video: what was my experience like actually buying games from CDKeys? Well, I decided to put my money where my mouth is and spend right around $100 buying 6 different games from the service just a few days ago. And what I ended up buying included Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Lego City Undercover, Kingdom Come Deliverance, God of War, and Civilization 6. And after applying a 10% discount code to all of these purchases for the Lunar New Year, my grand total ended up being $92.41. And as of the time of this purchase, if I'd bought that same collection of games directly on the Steam Marketplace, it would have cost me $234.91 before tax, which means after tax I probably would have been looking at closer to $250 to $260, which is clearly a pretty significant savings. So after I went through the process of carefully adding each one of these to my cart and making sure that I got the Steam version, not like the standalone PC digital version, and checking out, I'm happy to report that all of my keys were delivered without issue. So suffice it to say that the purchase process went through really smoothly, and just a few moments later I went ahead and checked my games library within the CDKeys interface, and I was able to reveal all of my keys and redeem them on Steam with no issues to speak of. For a brief moment, Balatro did take a second where it just said pending when I tried to reveal the code for redemption, but ultimately that only took a second, and by the time I'd redeemed the other 5 games, that one was ready to go as well. So in turn, I fired up the Steam Deck and started installing things just to check them out and have some fun with these new games, with the exception of Black Myth Wukong, because I was not expecting that to be a 130GB game, but still, no issues to speak of. But again, this is just me speaking to my personal experience, so what do I think about CDKeys as a whole? Well, I can't deny that based off of this experience at least, the entire thing was seamless. I was able to find the games that I was looking for at a hefty discount, purchase them without issue, and get every code redeemed really quickly with no issues to speak of. But overall, would I give the service a wholehearted endorsement and just start peppering all of these videos with affiliate links for CDKeys? In the immortal words of Cap from Endgame, no, I don't think I will. And it's no shade at CDKeys or anything like that, it's just that I'm not familiar enough with it yet to really make that determination, and I want to learn more about the service. So my plan moving forward is to continue buying games from CDKeys here and there over the next 6 months to a year, and see if I experience any of the negative behavior that was reported by some of those people that I found out in the wild. And that isn't to say that I won't explore other affiliate opportunities for retailers like Humble or Fanatical, and there's a good chance that I probably will, it's just that I've spent more time with those services, and CDKeys is kind of a new proposition for me, again, save for that one copy of I think No Man's Sky that I bought years back because someone told me to grab it there. So for now, I would say if you're really looking to save some dough and you're comfortable with the potential risks of gray market buying, then yes, I would definitely recommend checking out CDKeys at least a little bit because you can save some dough there. However, if you do, I would highly recommend that you take a very good record of any purchases you make and hold on to those receipts. Also, make sure that you read over their site carefully to make sure you fully understand how the process works. And finally, you might just want to buy 1 or 2 games initially just to see if the pricing works for you and make sure you don't have any issues before you start plunking down hundreds or even thousands of dollars for games on this platform. Because even though everything worked fine for me just now with this recent purchase, there are tens of thousands of transactions that flow through that site every month, I'm sure, and I represent a very small sample size. But as always, this is just one guy's opinion and experience, so what about you? Have you ever purchased games from CDKeys, and if so, what was that experience like? Was it positive? Was it negative? Are there pros and cons that I've overlooked here? If so, please do let me know in the comments below, because this is definitely something I'm going to continue to research as I look for other ways to share deals and sales on this channel moving forward. Now, as far as what's coming up on the channel, ironically and perhaps appropriately, I will be doing a video about the games I'm personally hoping go on sale whenever the Steam Spring Sale kicks off, which I think is on March 13th, and then also I'm doing a video on what to look for in an SD card purchase for your deck because, regrettably, I am in the market. But that's it for this one. As always, thank you so much for your time and hanging out here with me on the channel. It really means a lot to me. Have an amazing day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.